In Argentina, President Javier Milei allowed the installation of U.S. military forces in the Paraná-Paraguay River Road, which is key for the country as the opposition denounces a new episode of absolute alignment with the White House. In Afghanistan, 60 people have died as a result of the snows and rains that have hit the country in the last 3 weeks. And the Secretary General of the Lebanese resistance movement, Hezbollah, Sayed Hassan Nasrallah, delivered a speech for the beginning of Ramadan and stated that the genocide in Gaza should be a lesson for all the peoples of the world. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. In Argentina, President Javier Milei allowed the installation of U.S. military forces in the Paraná-Paraguay River Route, which is key for the country, framing a new episode of absolute alignment with the White House. The General Harbors Department of Argentina signed a memorandum of understanding that enables the arrival of U.S. military corps of engineers in one of the largest freshwater reservoirs in the world. The Paraná-Paraguay river route system is the main source of the country's exports, with more than 80% of the shipping in the country passing through its waters. The opposition denounced Milei's government, stating that the measure hinders national sovereignty, and asked the chief of cabinet, Nicolás Pose, to attend the Congress to explain the implications of this agreement. In Argentina, members of the federal coalition bloc in Congress did not achieve the required majority to meet and debate on the proposed new pension mobility. The minimum income should cover the retiree's basic food basket. The Chamber of Deputies expects to have enough quorum to be able to debate this bill after the recent climatic contingencies due to the cancellation of flights and the need for assistance from the deputies of the interior of the country. With this bill, they expect that pensions will be updated on a monthly basis due to the inflationary levels brought about by the implementation of policies of the right-wing government. We go now to Venezuela, where the Metal Expo 2024 kicked off, aimed at promoting the metallurgical industry as well as generating business opportunities for companies in the iron, steel, and aluminum sectors. The Day of National and International Commercial Promotion opens the doors for the interaction between suppliers, clients, and investors from the potential of the companies of the Venezuelan Guyanan Corporation. Likewise, the Metal Expo focuses its development on training and updating knowledge for professionals in the area, attracting investment, and the internationalization of Venezuelan companies. In this sense, President Nicolás Maduro participated in the inauguration activity at the headquarters of the Ferrominera Orinoco, located in Guayana City, where he reaffirmed Venezuela's sovereignty over Guayana, including the Guayana Esequiba.
Our Guyana, from here, from the 40-degree heat of this wonderful region, liberated by Manuel Piar, the great Manuel Piar, together with the great Simon Bolivar. The liberating armies gave us all of free and sovereign Guyana. Our Guyana, including our Guyana Esquiva, which is Venezuelan, which is ours. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, Guyana Esquiva is ours.
In this context, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, affirmed that despite the sanctions imposed against the country, economic growth is expected to reach at least 8% by 2024.
In the year 2024, with our own effort, with joint work, with transversal dialogue, and with God's favor, God will provide. We will grow 8%, or maybe more, with sanctions or without sanctions. I do not care about sanctions. The sanctions are a vulgarity, an immorality, and this right wing of the big powers and their puppets are asking for more sanctions against Venezuela. Let the gringos do what they want, but Venezuela does not stop in its work, in its effort, in its illusion, in its hope. Nothing and nobody, and we are going to improve, we are going to grow, and we are going to recover.
And we stay in Venezuela, where the Attorney General, Tarek William Saab, announced on Wednesday new evidences of conspiracy of assassination against the Venezuelan head of state. The Venezuelan Attorney General informed that 2 suspects detained for conspiracy in the city of Maturin will be presented before the No. 4 Court against Terrorism. Likewise, Tarek William Saab also detailed that the coup attempts carried out in different states of the country obey the same line of command. In this way, he called to maintain peace, stability, and tranquility, and indicated that everything is in full permanent intelligence work 24 hours, and added that any threats made against the President of the Republic or any other high official should be taken very seriously. We go now to Haiti, where activists protest against the presidential council that will take power in the Caribbean nation after the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. These protests are taking place in front of the Canadian Embassy in Port-au-Prince, which together with the United States and France participated in the extraordinary meeting of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, in which 9 member councils were determined. The protest takes place in spite of the prohibition of demonstrations and the imposition of a curfew after a state of emergency was declared in all western departments. Ariel Henry announced his resignation on Monday in the context marked by criminal gangs' control over the nation, which communicated that they will not accept any decision made abroad. In other news, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries took note of the International Energy Agency reaffirming the significance of oil security to energy transitions. In an official statement, OPEC said to be encouraged by the IEA message and the reference to the continuing importance of oil to the world. The IEA said in its commentary that an enduring focus on oil security is a consequence of the continued need for oil to fuel cars, trucks, ships, and aircraft, as well as to produce the petrochemicals necessary to manufacture countless everyday items. The statement added that these messages have been strongly voiced by OPEC for many years, and that the organization will continue to reiterate that energy security, energy affordability, and reducing emissions need to go hand in hand as we look to an all energies, all technologies, and all people's approach to energy transitions. OPEC has consistently reaffirmed its commitment to oil market stability and security of supply, including through its members holding spare capacity at their own cost in case of any unforeseen global oil supply disruptions. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Afghanistan, 60 people have died after snows and rains hit the country in the last 3 weeks. The Ministry of Disaster Management of Afghanistan reported that since the beginning of these storms, there have been 60 deaths, 23 wounded, and more than 170,000 heads of cattle affected. The disaster also caused the destruction of more than 1,600 houses throughout the country. In this respect, the government declared that aid will be distributed to the people affected by the torrential rains in the middle of a contingency plan, mainly in the most affected areas, such as the province of Herat. Now we move on to other topics. The Secretary General of the Lebanese resistance movement Hezbollah, Sayed Hassan Nasrallah, said on Thursday that the genocide in Gaza should be a lesson for all the peoples of the world. During his speech on the occasion of the beginning of the month of Ramadan, amid the ongoing attacks perpetrated by Israel in the Gaza Strip, Nasrallah highlighted that during the 6 months of operations in the region, Israel has failed to achieve any of its declared goals. In this context, he affirmed that the call by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to invade Rafah means that they have already lost the war. According to the Lebanese leader, another one of the signs of defeat of Israel is the attempt to negotiate with the Palestinian movement Hamas. In this way, he also pointed out that the Israeli occupation army is tired and exhausted on all fronts, and the number of its dead is very large and much higher than announced. Palestinian Minister of Social Development Ahmed Magdalani informed on Wednesday that 70 orphan children from Rafah were temporarily evacuated to SOS Children's Villegas International in Bethlehem until the end of the current conflict. According to the minister, the transfer was carried out by the Ministries of Social Development and Interior in Ramallah in cooperation and coordination with the German government. Magdalani also informed that the Israeli occupation government tried to employ this step positively to its advantage in light of its killing of children and civilians. The minister expressed his thanks to the German government, represented by its foreign minister, for the efforts made to remove these children from the state of danger to which they were exposed in the Gaza Strip as a result of the continuous Israeli aggression. Palestinians in Syria are ready to help their compatriots in Gaza live through the difficult situation caused by more than 5 months of Israeli attacks. Our correspondent in Syria, Hisham Wanus, with the story.
Although they are living Ramadan in the midst of an acute economic crisis resulting from the war and the blockade, the Palestinians living in Syria, like their Syrian brothers, are ready to offer everything they have to ease the suffering of their compatriots who are besieged in Gaza. This was stated by the residents of the Al-Yarmouk Palestinian refugee camp south of Damascus in condemnation of the Israeli war of starvation, which has not ceased for more than 5 months against Gaza.
We are very saddened by the dire situation of our brothers in Gaza, and we are overwhelmed by what they are suffering as a result of war, starvation and displacement after having lost their homes, and we hope we can help them, and we pray to God to have mercy of them.
We demand that the world community, the United Nations, and all international humanitarian organizations assume their responsibilities and stop the genocidal Israeli war against our Palestinian people who are dying of hunger and thirst, in addition to the bombings, because they are exercising their right to defend their homeland and their holy places.
The arrival of the Holy Ramadan in Gaza coincides with the critical situation of more than 2.2 million inhabitants of this coastal enclave, victims of an Israeli war of extermination, a humanitarian crisis which, in view of the closure of the land crossings, some states are trying to alleviate with the air droppings of humanitarian aid over the Strip, at a time when Washington proposed the construction of a temporary seaport, which the Palestinians denounce. Under the false excuse of facilitating the entry of humanitarian aid, it will serve to fulfill Tel Aviv's plan to move the Gazans by sea to Cyprus.
The temporary seaport proposed by Biden for the supposed entry of humanitarian aid in Gaza is nothing more than a trick that will not be able to fool us. Because after failing to move the inhabitants of Gaza to Egypt, now they try to move them by sea under the false humanitarian excuse, and this is a plan that will not succeed.
This port is part of the Zionist plan to exterminate and forcibly displace the Palestinian people of Gaza to Europe and displace the Palestinians of the West Bank to Jordan and Egypt. But we assure you that this plan will fail and our Palestinian people will remain attached to their homeland in occupied Palestine.
The Israeli war also caused the total or partial destruction of more than 500 mosques in Gaza. This damage, added to the famine, massacres, displacement, and siege, turned Gaza into a ruined place, requiring dozens of years of work to rebuild it and restore the normal course of its life, including the customary celebrations of Ramadan, as practiced in the rest of the Muslim world.
TeleSUR Oriente Medio.
We now have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The government of Cameroon has described two political groups seeking to create opposition coalitions as illegal. A statement from the Territorial Administration Minister, Paula Tanganji, on Tuesday named the Political Alliance for Change and the Alliance for Political Transition in Cameroon as illegal political parties. The statement also expressed concern over pseudo-associations ahead of the 2025 presidential elections. The minister recalled that only legally recognized political parties have the right to exercise political activities at the national level and ordered the ban on any demonstrations associated with these associations. Kenyans on Wednesday welcomed the government decision to halt plans to deploy at least 1,000 police officers to Haiti following the unprecedented violence that erupted in the Caribbean nation. Kenya had agreed last October to lead a UN-authorized international police force to Haiti, but the country's top court in January ruled this was unconstitutional, in part because of a lack of reciprocal agreements on such deployments between the two countries. Kenya's President William Ruto said that he and Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry had witnessed the signing of the reciprocal agreements between Kenya and Haiti on March 1st, clearing the path for the deployment. Under the plan, the UN-backed multinational police, led by Kenyan officers, were to help quell the criminal violence that has long plagued Haiti. But violence escalated sharply from February 29th, with gunmen burning police stations, shutting down the main international airports, and storming the country's two largest prisons, freeing more than 4,000 inmates. Nigeria's information ministry said on Wednesday that the president has ordered security forces not to pay a ransom for the release of more than 250 school pupils seized by gunmen last week. Relatives say that the kidnappers have demanded a large payment for the return of the students abducted from their school in Kudiga village in northwestern Kaduna State on Thursday. Criminal gangs often carry out mass kidnappings in northwest Nigeria, targeting schools, villages, and highways. In the last 3 years, hundreds of students have been abducted. Almost all were released for ransom payments after weeks or months in captivity at bandit camps hidden in forest. Kidnapped victims in Nigeria are often released following negotiations with the authorities, though officials deny ransom payments are made.
But government is not taking any excuses. The president has directed that security agencies must, as a matter of urgency, ensure that these children and all those who have been kidnapped are brought back in safety, and also in the process to ensure that not a dime is paid for ransom. Mr. President has said that this is an unacceptable situation. He is not going to, the government will not condone abductions or kidnappings or any kind of criminality in that direction.
In other news, the United Nations organization warns about the worsening humanitarian crisis in the Democratic Republic of the Congo due to armed conflict and climate change. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warned about the violence and the deterioration of security in the province's places where at least 10 humanitarian organizations temporarily interrupted their operations. Such is the case of the province of Ituri, where there are about 1.8 million displaced people, while another 215,000 have fled to the city of Goma, which is home to more than 630,000 displaced people. The situation is aggravated by food shortages that are affecting living conditions and endangering the health of the population. And U.S. Courts of Appeals acquit tech companies accused of child exploitation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The judicial body decided to exonerate the technology companies Apple, Alphabet Inc., Microsoft, among others, from the accusation of illegal cobalt mining. The Columbia District Court of Appeals based its decisions on the fact that the relationship of the companies was limited to a simple commercial transaction with the suppliers in Kinshasa, while distancing themselves from the use of children in the illegal extraction of cobalt in mines in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.